be honest with Mission Start podcast, and yeah, it's I can see the dust settled here for a while. Yeah, we haven't been podcasting for a while.
There are cobwebs everywhere, dude.
Yeah, man, I've been needing to clean the place, so yeah, just dusting up the mic
Gotta
here
get
and
some
there.
pine sol, just make everything look nice and shiny. Painted.
um, so what you hear the voices. With me today is Greg Dietz from Kratov.
Hello, hello.
And we have Christopher Sturm from our own very own website.
Yellow.
And for this podcast, we are going to have two topics. One very short, one the main topic. The short one is what you've been up to. And then the second main topic of discussion for this podcast will be looking at the past kind of generation of this console era as we move on to the next console era pretty soon. So let's get started real quickly. Kris, what have you been up to?
Not much. I just recently got a new job, and aside from that, I've been devoting some of my time to Kingdom Hearts 1.5's remix. And as I'm going to write in my review, after I've actually gotten past Halloween Town, it was a terrible, terrible, terrible idea for me to go with Final Mix Proud mode, which is the hardest difficulty, and also do a no continue run.
Why do you do this to yourself?
Well, I figured that since the trophies on there for playthrough challenges are go through the game with no continues, beat the game in under 15 hours, and then 100% completion run. Oh yeah, and then there's another one where you can't change your equipment throughout the entire playthrough.
Oh, wow.
So I figured for the hard difficulty, I'll go ahead and run 100% completion and no continues. For the middle run, I would go for either speed, or I would work with no equipment changes, and then I would switch it over to beginner to tie everything over. And if I didn't handle a speed run for the normal difficulty, I would run it through there.
Wow. That's some pretty intense stuff, but...
It's horrendous.
Wow.
The game itself is fantastic, though.
Awesome. So, going through the game, like, what has been the hardest part for you so far?
Well, in regards to my run in particular, or altogether?
Altogether.
Altogether, in Final Mix Proud mode, if what I've read is right, enemies attack you for 4 times the damage, and some sources have been a little less than accurate, but the attacks that you do are anywhere between half to a quarter of their full damage.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, if that's the case, I'm dealing with anywhere between a 1/6 to 1/8 of full potential on my run, and I have to say it's a lot more difficult. Aside from that, though, I really liked the color palette swaps. It does make this game seem a little more livelier, and I like the fact that for Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, it does have some more cutscenes that were added to help flesh out the story.
Okay. I mean, I guess it is something to hold anybody or any Kingdom Hearts fan over until Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out, but...
Yeah, that ain't happening for a long time.
Yeah, at least we got a trailer, though. I mean, at least that. Something.
That's true.
Well, they said that like they're gonna do a final mix for the second game before 3 as well.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of something that you figure would happen anyway, but if what I've read is right, apparently someone dropped the ball on that, and that was supposed to be a secret until early 2014.
Oh. Well, you know how the game industry works sometimes.
Oh well, secret's out now.
Yeah. It's leaked.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah. So okay. I mean, it's something that, as I said, to hold fans over until Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out. Just because like they've been dying to have another Kingdom Hearts game for how long? Like since the PS2 version came out. So.
Well, they've consistently been making Kingdom Hearts games, so it's not like there's been a shortage of it.
That's true. That's very true.
And for those that don't know, the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Final Mix bundle It includes Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts. For whatever reason I'm drawing a blank. I think it's the Chain of Memories. That's what it was.
Right.
It has the revamped version of that, and it has all of the cutscenes for Kingdom Hearts 358 by 2 days, and that's 2.5 hours of content. There's no actual third game that comes with it.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you've been up to?
Aside from that, nah, not really. I've been trying to flesh out my manga collection and actually complete everything that I have.
Cool.
That hasn't been going over as well as I like.
Awesome. Greg, I haven't talked to you in a while. Actually I did, but
Well, I can tell you one thing, Anthony.
okay.
I don't know when this episode is going to air, but as of right now, you and I are going at each other in one of the leagues that we are in.
Yes, I said
And
that.
I'm going to kick your ass this week. That's what's going to happen. Happen.
We'll see. I don't know. I think my team, Booty Sweat Fantasy Team, will just annihilate your team, and Aaron Rodgers is just going to just run in there and just give me all the points that I need. Thanks.
I don't know.
Sweet.
I already got 30 points from what's his face on great, now I can't think of the team or the guy. Wonderful for me. Anyway, other than fantasy, I played the console version of Diablo 3.
Did you buy the full version, or you been playing the demo?
Well, actually, I rented it.
Oh, okay.
Through GameFly, yeah. What's great about certain games is that they don't do the pay this if you rent the game so you can play it online.
Mm-hmm.
As I hate that. It's absolute nonsense.
Mm.
But so this game doesn't do that, and I was actually able to play the full game with a buddy of mine online. And we beat the game in a few days because really Diablo 3 is not that long, which I know pissed off a lot of fans when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
But in my personal opinion, I don't think it's that bad. I actually find it to be a lot of fun. Now, yes, I did play on easy, and yes, it is super short, but that's fine by me. I wasn't looking to play a super long Diablo game. Yes, you can make it longer by going through every dungeon and finding every little thing, and that's fine if that's your preference. That wasn't mine.
Mm.
So from my perspective, I had a lot of fun playing the console version. Now, I didn't play the PC version, but the buddy I was playing with did. And one of the things I remember him saying a lot was he was really impressed with how well the controls transfer. So the idea that you have so many different options of magic or abilities that you can use, and the way that they map it on the controller is all the shoulder buttons and triggers and the buttons on the pad are your abilities.
Okay.
And what you because your character basically auto aims to it auto homes onto whatever enemy's closest to you. You just hold down whatever button you need to press, and it does it automatically. It's really great.
Would you prefer this,
and
or real quickly, would you prefer this over the mouse and keyboard?
Yes, because it is an action game. If it were a strategy game or something in that ballpark, then yes, mouse and keyboard. But I think because I played the other Diablos on mouse and keyboard and I didn't have as much fun because you have to basically just keep clicking on the enemy until it's dead.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of drove me nuts. So the fact that this game doesn't do that and you just hold down the trigger and the character automatically starts killing the enemy was a really good addition. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I beat the game. I know the story. The story was okay. To be honest with you, it wasn't super oh my god, this is gonna happen. It was okay. I actually saw a lot of shit coming way before and I was barely paying attention to the story, to be honest with you.
Right.
So, but I still saw shit coming. So the story was okay in my opinion, but the game was fun. That was the important part, was I actually had fun playing the game. So
Okay.
I do recommend that one if you don't want to buy it and you just want to try to play it and beat it. Get it through GameFly and play it that way. If you want to put hours and hours and play every single class, buy it because that's where you'll have the most fun.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I had the same feeling about Diablo 3. I feel like Diablo 3 was a game that I think at first people hated it because of its kind of how different it was. But as they made patches and actually fixed the game, they actually made it better. I haven't gone back to it in a while. Um, but like yeah, like I think that because I was very curious about the console version and how it would translate, not only controls wise, but like how the loot system would work and how the difficulty would be ranged from easy to hard or however they do it. So that's great to hear. It's great to hear.
Yeah, my buddy, he's playing on Nightmare right now
Mm-hmm.
on the console, and he's having a ball. Like he's really enjoying it because, again, the game isn't hard to control. Like it actually feels really intuitive and really nice, and it flows really well. I'd say the only downside from the console versus PC, and he noticed this too, is frame rate issues.
Right.
Too many enemies are on screen at one time, or too many things are happening.
Mm.
But other than that, I mean, I feel like that's a common complaint nowadays anyway.
Okay. Awesome.
It's
It's great to hear. Or that kind of go ahead.
I was gonna say the other thing I've been up to is I think what a lot of people have been up to, and that's playing Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh yes, this has been the week of Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
If you're at work right now listening to this and you have not seen anybody or you've seen like productivity going down this week, yeah, that's the reason.
Right, exactly. Like I think someone posted on Twitter like, "Hey, if your coworker doesn't come in today or calls in sick, it's because he's playing Grand Theft Auto." And that was on Tuesday, but
Mm-hmm.
So I've been playing it for 4 days now or whatever. I adore this game. Everything about this game is like Rockstar went. So we've had all these games that we've come out with, and instead of just trying to make something new and innovative, how about we do that with the story and use all the best controls and bits from other games that we've made over the past few years and put that into GTA.
Yeah.
So like the car control is a lot tighter. Now the great thing about the car control, every car controls differently. Every car has a different speed. So depending on what car you get, it's going to happen that way. Like if you remember in Red Dead Redemption, there was a dot on your screen and that's where you would shoot.
Right.
Same with Grand Theft Auto 5. Now you can change that. You can actually go into the settings and go like, I want the complex aiming, and it has that like reticle on the screen that you can actually see. I have two friends who actually did that because they couldn't see the white dot. So like, but other than that, like, I just absolutely adore the game. Like everything about it is fun. I'd say one of my favorite bits is that you play as 3 different characters, and each character is drastically different. You have the suburbanite dad who was an ex-bank robber and is now in witness protection.
Mm-hmm.
You then have, and his name is Michael. Then you have Franklin, who's a gangbanger trying to get out of the ghetto.
Right.
He doesn't want to be a gangbanger, but he wants to make money, but the only way he knows how is by criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Trevor, Trevor is a guy on the run constantly. He's basically, as I told Kris before we recorded, he is the Joker if the Joker didn't have Batman.
Yeah, it totally looks from that way too, from watching it. Yeah.
He throughout the entire game, he's constantly doing things that are completely terrible, and you feel like if this person was real, you'd want him to not be on the earth anymore. But the fact he's in a video game and in a story, he actually adds to a lot of how the story plays out and what needs to happen. So, for example, there's a situation where Michael's like, we need to go in silent and be calm about it, but Trevor, very angry guy, he's very over the top, and he likes to have a good time while being just batshit crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll go in and just guns a-blazing, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? I didn't want to get the cops' attention, but now guess what we have to do?
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot of fun. The whole game, it works in such a magnificent way that I cannot recommend it enough. I mean, I think honestly, if you've seen any videos of it, you know how pretty it is, for one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time I've ever played a Grand Theft Auto game where I went, this world is like, it's living.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I was watching some people stream it when the game was released, and the world is just more lively, more vibrant, and not
Absolutely.
yeah, like you actually see people walking down the street, and actually people in cars. Not like it's like one or two cars passing by. It's actually it feels like a living, breathing city.
Right, and one of the great things that I noticed, so I'm playing the game with my buddy here, and we started laughing at this moment because it was so like weird and we weren't expecting it. So I was controlling Michael, and he had just gotten out of bed. He had woken up, and he was like, and he fucking freaks out and goes and gets dressed because
Right,
he had a
right,
nightmare or some shit.
right.
And I'm like, all right, let's see what Franklin's up to. So I go to Franklin, and he's yelling at his friend Lamar, who by the way is a complete fucking moron. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And Lamar walks away pissed off, and you just got out of like a fucking restaurant or some shit. And then I was like, oh, what's Trevor up to? So I go to Trevor, and he's starting a fight with some guys at Muscle Beach that you would see in Venice Beach in LA.
Mm.
And I'm like, holy shit! Now I'm controlling him now, and these fucking muscle guys are trying to beat my ass, and all I could do was run. Otherwise, I was going to die, or like my health was gonna go down. And I was like, oh crap! So I started sprinting away, and I noticed that they were still chasing me. So I was like, how do I get them away? And so I just pulled out a gun and faced it towards them, and that's how I got them to leave me alone.
Wow.
And I was like, that's amazing. That kind of dynamic happens in the game. That if I switch to a character, I take that chance of just being in a situation.
Right.
So like that to me is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that aspect. I enjoy the story. The story, by the way, is fucking fantastic, and I'm not spoiling anything of it because you have to experience it for yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You absolutely do. Either by watching someone do a playthrough online, which I mean, if you don't want to play the story and you're just waiting for the multiplayer and you're gonna buy it October 1st or some shit like that,
Yeah.
which is totally acceptable. You can still watch the playthrough online, and that is going to be just as fun because the story is just fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the biggest aspects of the game also is doing heists.
Mm-hmm.
And when you set up the heist, it's actually a lot of fun because it gives you an option. You can do a heist either A or B. And usually that means like one is over the top action or one's very smart. And I always recommend doing the smart option just because it's, smart. But if you want to have a good time and have like just a crazy over the top situation, then absolutely go the loud and dumb as Lester puts it, one of the characters in the game.
Mm.
But yeah, so like, on top, like, it's just everything about the game is good. Like, just before I hopped online here, there's a mountain in the game, and I went to a location where you take a track thing all the way to the top, like I want to say a monorail sort of thing, a rail. But you take it to the top of the mountain, and then I drove a bike off of a ramp on the top of the mountain and then parachuted down to a small section of a city.
Oh wow.
I just did it because I could. Like that's the great thing. Like
that is simply awesome. In that game, like, yes, you could literally do normal mundane things, but sometimes those mundane things turn to crazy situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. The game is great. Like all around, it just looks superb in every way.
Yeah, like I'd say one of the most unexpected things that I was really blown away by it when it showed, and that was when you're in a car with somebody else and you're having a conversation and you get into like a fender bender or you wreck into another car or some shit like that. The conversation will stop, the character will say something in regards to it, and then continue what he was saying, but not in a weird way. Like he's like, as I was saying, or, he'll just continue if it makes sense. Like, that's really cool. That adds to the immersiveness of the game. That makes me feel like what I'm doing isn't just playing a game or something. I mean, I know that I am, but it adds to the cinematic value of what I'm doing. So
For sure. Awesome.
I will say this before I end my review because I mean you can't recommend this game enough,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some controversial shit in the game, and for your listeners and for people that I know who might listen, if you're upset by some of the controversial shit in the game, then you have lost what I like to call a concept. you are not putting into concept what's happening in the storyline and why it's happening. If it makes you somehow uneasy that you're controlling said controversial scene, then why the fuck were you playing Grand Theft Auto in the first place?
It's funny because GTA has always lived on that controversy in every like other game that has come out. Like there's always something about it that people or the public and the media like see this and it's like, oh my god, you know, ever since like San Andreas with the whole hot coffee scene.
Right. Well, the major controversial scene that a lot of people talk about, I played yesterday, and to me, it wasn't that. It wasn't. I mean, yes, yes. If it happened in real life, it would be horrible.
Right.
But the fact that it's in a video game and it's in kind of a comical situation, it's not horrible.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, yes, in context of like story purposes, yeah, that shouldn't have happened because of this and this and this, but it just doesn't make any sense to me how people just get up in arms about a video game or get up in arms about anything in that fashion. Like, stop worrying about what GTA's doing. We have a problem in Syria right now.
Right.
So like that's kind of how I see it, but I just wanted to add that in before I finished. And so.
Oh no, it's cool.
Not only that, but it's as a concept that we were talking about earlier. Like the one thing that Grand Theft Auto really tries to show is a sense of disjointed reality.
Yeah.
They want to make a very realistic game, but posing situations that are, for the most part, entirely unrealistic.
Right. Real quickly, I'll go over what I've been up to. I've been mainly been up to working on the website, updating a few things here and there. Almost done with what everything I need to do before I am finally finished. Yeah, just a few things here and there. But like game-wise, like I've been playing a few games. I've been playing through the Penny Arcade games recently. I'm almost done with episode 1. I've been playing. I got some new games from the new Humble Bundle pack that came with Mark the Ninja, Bastion, and other ones that came out this past week. I've just been doing lots of other things, but gaming wise, like I'm still been getting more into it just because like I've been missing out on some things I've been busy with over the summer. Anywho, so we're gonna take a short little break, and then we'll come back. We're gonna talk about our main discussion about looking back at this past generation of consoles and really what really came out in it, and just kind of looking kind of a look back to what really happened, and as we move forward to the next generation of consoles. So sit back, and we'll be right back. Hello everyone, this is Anthony Be Honest from the Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to this podcast, as well as our other ones on our website, you can now hear us on Stitcher. You can now hear our show as well on the go with Stitcher Smart Radio, on-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes always available for you, no syncing needed, and no money or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher, Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio. And we're back. So, as we are moving to the next generation consoles in about a month or two, actually take that back, it's September, so 2 months, and you have to sit back and you have to think about this past generation of console, or the current gen right now, and it has been about, I would say, oh man, it's been a long time, like 6-7 years, maybe 8. We've been in this current generation of consoles, which is one of the longest times we've been.
The Xbox 360 came out in 2005, and the PlayStation 3 came out in 2006, as well did the Wii. So.
Oh wow, okay. So we've been in this generation for a very, very long time, and looking back, there's been a lot of great games that came out in this generation, and a lot of things also in this generation that I think that really stood out and really kind of made this generation pretty, I guess, significant or pretty high up there if you would compare other generations. Obviously, people are going to say like one generation might be different from another just because of graphics and the game qualities. But I have to say, like, this has been a very interesting generation that we've been into. So
Yeah.
so guys, like what in this current generation as we're moving forward, like what exactly kind of stood out to you? Like, any events, games that just kind of stood out to you in this current gen?
Quite a bit, to be honest with you. I mean, we got the entire Mass Effect trilogy in one run through
Mm-hmm.
on this generation. I'd say that to me is one of the most outstanding achievements in gaming ever. Just with how big the fan base is and how well they had written that story, um, in a very sci-fi RPG sort of way, and I'll always enjoy the Mass Effect storyline in games, and I really hope that BioWare does not, like when they make the next Mass Effect, which they are totally going to because it is a cash cow, that they don't just like, hey, Shepard's alive, and it's just spoiler alert, by the way. Um, I just hope they don't do that, because like that's one of my favorite things of this console generation.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. I think one of the other big things that came out of this console generation was the beginning of how the indie scene started, with Xbox Live, and how it
Absolutely, yeah.
is now. Because remember, the very first game that cost $15 was oh man, it was Braid. It was the game that people were kind of questioning. Was this really worth $15? It was at the time, but during that time, it was like very early in Xbox Live days, like of these games being cost money and it was download. We haven't seen much of that. Also, the fact that we've seen the Xbox Live evolve in such a great way, since the origins of when it first came out on Xbox Live on 2006. But this is crazy how, like, and looking back, it's like, wow, there's been a lot of great things that have happened in this current gen. Um,
Yeah.
Chris, anything that stood out to you?
Honestly, there's a lot of great things that came out over the course of the past, God, 8 years. One of the things that I noticed is that as we moved on from the prior generation of gaming, where we had the GameCubes, the Xbox, and the PlayStation 2, and moving into the 360, PS3, and the Wii, consequently the Wii U later. Actually, consequently, anyway. So one of the things that I've noticed is that games became less about, well, I mean, the element was still there, but it became less focused on just mindless entertainment, and they had poignant and nuanced stories that the player could immerse themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Good examples would be like the game Lost Odyssey that came out in 2006,
Oh yeah.
where you played as a group of immortals that have been living for 1,000 years, and they have no knowledge of what their life was, and over the course of traveling together and everything, they reveal this huge conspiracy, and it affects the very world that they live in and had lived in. Other notable mentions were Bayonetta in regards to keeping a fun hack and slash game while also having a sexy and well-developed character.
Mm-hmm.
Well, except for the spider legs.
I personally think one of the greatest things about that game is the accessibility to all ages.
Oh yeah. I mean, that game. I mean, I love the fact that game is just so wacky at times. Like at the end boss, spoiler, but not really. Like the end boss, you're controlling the final boss as he's like hurling into the sun, and I was like,
Actually, it's actually a woman.
I mean, it is. I mean, like,
Goddess.
it is a big spoiler, but like, it's been what, like 4 years since the game came out, so, and I'm just throwing just darts out there, but like, yeah, it's just crazy, like how that game was just that wacky, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, other notable mentions, L.A. Noire, when it came to...
Oh yeah, that's
He was
right.
focusing almost entirely on story and entirely changing the entire Rockstar dynamic, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that game, like I think it was one of the first games that were like that made the more of a game out of guessing and like kind of, you know, seeing how the person would react. You were actually being the A investigator, and not like, you know, you found this item, oh, cutscene, and then go to find their item, oh, a cutscene, you know. So that's it.
Yeah, and I was also going to mention that Ego Raptor made a little comic about what was it, LA Awesome or something like that,
Yeah.
where it shows where a detective whose name I unfortunately forgot, he's interrogating someone and said, "So, do you know anything about the murder that took place?" And like, "Oh yeah, no, nothing at all." And then afterwards, you see like the really obvious tell. And then she asks him, it's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm just drawing you." And it shows like this really well detailed sketch.
Yeah, that was always hilarious to me. Was like whenever he drew in his notepad of someone's face, it was like it just basically looked like
It was a photo almost.
yeah, it was basically like someone had taken a photo with an iPhone and then put that app in that's like, you look like a sketch. Like that's what it would look like.
And of course, then you see him just freaking out. It's like, "Can't get that fucking lift!"
Yeah.
And last two mentions are Red Dead Redemption, another great game by Rockstar, which was one of the first games that actually had me had my heartstrings tugged by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. You know what's really funny about that game, by the way, and again, spoiler alert.
You die.
Well, no, that's actually not the end of the game. A lot of people think that when James Marston gets shot by all the FBI agents or whatever the hell they are at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, that's the end of the game. It's actually not the end of the game.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in. But
That's fine. Because my brother came home because he had played a crap ton of it while he was away or something, and he was like, the game just ends. You're then his son standing over his grave, and the game's just over. And I'm like, that can't be the ending. That doesn't make any sense. There was no credits, and he was like, no credits. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Rockstar wouldn't just end a game with no credits. That doesn't fit into how shit happens like that. So I looked it up online, and sure enough, I was like, it's not over, Josh. He was like, it's not. No. So I watched him complete the game, and we were really surprised that Rockstar went that route. Like that was really cool by them to kind of write the story like that.
Mm-hmm.
Some Old West justice. And
yeah, exactly.
The fact that when you play as Jack, his son, like after you kill the sheriff that had just basically used your father and then killed him.
Yeah.
Then you pretty much just tell that to his wife. She's like, I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And last mention is for my absolute favorite game, Catherine.
Yeah, that game when I first looked at it, I really loved the gameplay how it is, because it reminded me a lot of Intelligent Qube back in the PS1 era. And I really loved that game because I guess I'm not quite sure why. Maybe I'm just into like that type of strategy or kind of like that type of game. But it looked so cool when it first came out. It was really awesome. It was really cool looking.
And to date, I think that is actually the only game where you focus on romances and infidelity and stuff like that, without it being an erotic visual novel game.
Okay. I was gonna say like, well, isn't Persona kind of like that? So, I mean.
Honestly, I've never played Persona. I've always wanted to, never got to.
Okay. Well,
yeah. That's just to my pre-existing knowledge. So if that sort of element is still there, then kudos to them, though.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. In this generation, like one of the big games that came out, obviously was Journey. Journey was a huge game, just like exploded onto the scene, and for a company that worked on it and then went out of business, but is able to still finish it and put it out there, was really cool. Like
it's the same company that did Flower, right?
Yes, same company did Flower.
Which is also part of this generation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Flower was another good one that was out. And there's just so many that just came out in this current generation.
Well, that's the problem with this generation is not a problem per se, but we've had most generations last 4 to 5 years. This is the first generation that's lasted this long.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you go by like let's say PlayStation 3, It has been, let's see, I'm trying to plan 2006 to 2013. My brain can't do the math on that for some reason. I want to say it's 7 years.
Hang on, 2005. Oh, you said 2005, right, or 2006?
2006 is
Okay, so 2006 to 2013, that would be 7 years actually.
okay, 7 years. So I mean, the Xbox 6 has been out for 8 years. With that much time and between generations, what the problem that you have is uh, a lot of great games that you forget about. A lot of companies come out with multiple games. Like, for example, we had one of my favorite games of the year, which was Heavy Rain. Not of the year, but one of my favorite games in general, Heavy Rain. However, Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, which is coming out this year, is still part of this generation.
Right.
And the issue that comes about with that is then you have to do that whole like, well, which game is better, or do you do that? Do you just give Quantum, whatever the hell it's called, Quantum something?
I think it's Quantum Shift.
Quantum Shift?
I think so, yeah.
The company that makes it. Hold
I'm
on.
gonna
Anyway,
take a look really quick.
do you just give them all the credit? Like, that's what's hard. Like, both Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5 have come out on this generation. The Portals have come out on this generation. We've had 3 Halos on one generation. So that's where a problem lies. Do you give it to the franchise, or do you do individual games? Personally, I do individual games, but that's my point. Like, 3 BioShocks, all the entire BioShock.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, like, that's amazing to me that we've had that in one generation. And one of my favorite things about this generation that has nothing to do with a game, it's how well received the gaming community is nowadays. And what I mean by that is gaming content online. As a matter of fact, what you did last night, I don't know when this is going to air, but what you did last night, Anthony, is part of my favorite thing of this console generation. That people are able to upload Let's Plays or videos of them goofing around in a game or some shit, and it's just, hey, that's okay, that's cool, sweet. Now, now the video game industry is getting more recognized as a viable entertainment outsource. Like, before it was just, oh, it's a toy for kids. But now, as those kids have grown up, it's becoming a viable source of entertainment, and I really enjoy that. It's not just a let's make whatever we can to make money. I mean, there are companies that do that, but it's like you said with the indie scene. Steam came out in this generation.
Oh my god, yeah, totally forgot. Do you remember when Steam first came out and how it started? It was so shitty.
People hated it.
It was so shitty. Yeah. It's crazy how far it came and how it is now. It's
now everyone loves Steam.
Yes.
Like before, everyone called it, well, they used the money sign for the S. Steam, because all they did was want to steal your cash. But
Right. But yeah,
it's evolved a lot over
it really has. It really has. Other things that notable to point out to go along with the entertainment thing you put out there, Greg, was the evolution of esports. And now I'm not talking about just fighting game. I'm talking about just like other games in general that had exploded onto the scene, like Riot with League of Legends and MOG and these big other games who have gotten more mainstream and are competing for millions of dollars, literally. So it is insane to think in this current generation so much has been accomplished. There is one thing I do want to say that I would say it is probably one of the biggest shockers and disappointments I've ever seen. And this is the time where I was working at 1UP as an intern. And it was when Duke Nukem Forever came out. The game that everybody has
14 years to make.
Everybody had like joked for so long that game will never come out, and it finally did. and it was
It still felt rushed.
It's I know, right?
Well, actually, if you look at it this way, that game is actually very important to the gaming industry, and I'll explain why. So, we have standards when it comes to what we play and how we play it and when we play it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
There's a legit standard to that, and we know that standard. We feel that standard every time we pick up a controller.
Mm-hmm.
Duke Nukem had shown the world and industries this is not the standard. You don't spend this long on a title and then still release it in this condition.
Unless you're Blizzard or Valve, but go on.
Well, here's the thing about them is they have the same group of people working on the same game. The problem with Duke Nukem was that it had such a high demand rate, and then on top of that, when it released, it was such a fucking piece of shit. People were like, "This took you 13 years."
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand what that means. It shifted groups 8 fucking times.
It did.
It died, and then someone picked it up. That game.
Wasn't it effectively 8 different games over the course of development?
It was pretty much vaporware.
Before it eventually got picked up by Gearbox.
It was pretty much vaporware for the most part, but
Yeah, it ended up getting picked up by 2K and Gearbox, and Gearbox released it, and one of the guys that worked on it was like, "Look, you take a game that was clearly made for the early days of the Xbox, and then try to make it for the 360, and with the current standards, and then come back and say oh, you did a good job." No, it's not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. So I feel that kind of game, especially that game with that popularity, is very important to the video game landscape.
The crazy. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that. I feel like that had really shown. A lot of people would sit there and say, "Oh, 2K sucks because they did this," and it's well, no, they made Borderlands 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And if you've played those games, you know that they don't suck as a company. They basically tried to polish the worst turd on the planet.
Yeah, it was really hard. I was there in the 1UP offices when the reviewer, because at first he was going to give it a C. But then after about half hour later, he thought about it, went back, played the original Duke Nukem, the 3D version, and then compared it to the new one and says, "You know what? I'm giving this an F." And that totally blew the landscape of the internet as far as how bad the game was going to be reviewed. It's holy crap.
Yeah.
This happened.
Just took that one and then everyone started ragging on it.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I had to say that I would rank this current generation of everything that has happened pretty high up there compared to the other generations.
This generation made a hallmark of what should be the gaming landscape. I mean, you look at every game that's come out, and the next generation is gonna have some huge shoes to fill.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. Oof.
I mean, you got I'll give you a perfect example of shoes that weren't filled right off the bat, and that was Microsoft fucking up and not telling everyone how they were going to do their system, and then everyone got fucking angry.
Mm-hmm.
I've defended the Xbox One 1,001 times because Microsoft truly did fuck up by not explaining what they were trying to do. They just assumed everyone would be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's Microsoft's bad.
Right.
The system, however, what they
about assumptions.
Right. True.
Mm-hmm.
But that I think shows how the gaming landscape has changed in terms of user voices. I think another thing that I'm not a huge fan of this, but it does change things, and that's like I said, user input. Battlefield 3, for example. It was changed so many fucking times because of people going onto the forums and saying, "I don't like this, please change this, it's not fun." And they obliged. They wanted to change it. Take BioWare, for example, with Mass Effect 3's ending.
Mm-hmm.
Go back fucking, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that shit would not have happened.
Yeah, it's crazy the thing, the landscape, but how everything is today, with video games and were back then. Like back then, we didn't have social media. Like not to sound like an old man, but we didn't have social media back then that kind of really helped or kind of like just kind of pave way to what possibly the future could be for gaming in every aspect.
Yeah.
Kris, final thoughts on this in this current gen?
Honestly, not a whole lot. The one thing I am glad about is that, I mean, there's been a lot of developments that have come to PC gaming as well, and I'm glad that over the past few years I've been able to become a part of that. But on the whole, I've just been pretty satisfied with everything that's come out. I mean, there's not really a whole lot more that can be mentioned other than what I had said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been a lot of improvements, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I still think that there is a lot of room for improvements to, come down the line, even with the high standards that this generation has presented for new stuff such as the Xbox One and the PS4. And to a degree, the Wii U, if you want to consider that a next gen, considering how things have developed.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me for this podcast to talk about this awesome topic.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun, and maybe later we can talk about some stuff that we're looking forward to for the next console season.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Once we get all the cobwebs out of here and clean things up a bit.
Yeah, I need to redo the walls. There's mold folding or molding in the corners over here. Yeah, I need to really clean this place out.
Jeez, contact a landscape.
Anyways, Kris, where can I find you on the internet?
You guys can find me on the Mission Start Podcast Facebook page and, of course, missionstartpodcast.com. Most of my time is going to be spent on doing some research and seeing how we can be better for you guys.
Awesome. Gregg, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me a few places. You can find me on almost said Mission Start Podcast, but then that's not true.
Are you saying something, Gregg? Do you want to work for us? Huh?
We like it. Like it a lot.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we're not recording. You can find me on Kratov.com sometimes. You can find, if you want to go to my YouTube page, which is just Chubrock, you can find my blog there, which I barely do nowadays. I'm also on Twitter. You can follow me on Chubrock Geek, at Chubrock Geek. Other than that, not much.
Cool. You can follow me on Twitter at Defective Naruto. And you can follow all the work that me and Kris do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. All of our good stuff is there, reviews, previews. We just got done streaming the online Reddit tournament. By the way, shout outs to you guys. And it was a lot of fun streaming. It was my first time streaming that kind of an event online, and hopefully maybe in the future we'll do more. But yeah, check it out, guys. All up there. Check Stitcher for other and iTunes for other podcasts, the Conover, and the Roll 120s. So yeah, definitely check it out. But until then, okay, we're gonna try to make this podcast come back because this has been a while since we did this. So, anyways, again, thanks, guys, and with that, bid you all adieu, and we'll see you all next time.